you come from, who gets ready to play. Whoever we think can help us win that Sunday, like they're going to be active for the game. We're going to have to make, 5 to 7 players inactive each week. So we'll go through the process like we do every week. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, there'll be some movement. There'll be some players that I'm sure that we'll look at. And, whether it's this week or, next week or workouts or whatever it might be. But I think we have a decent idea about what's available, what's out there. I think you got to be realistic about, like, are you bringing just a name tag in, or are you bringing a player in specifically for a particular reason that's going to fill a particular role? So, we'll handle it. Our scouting staff's done a great job. I would say Lip, Chris Blanco, DJ Debick, the pro staff, Steve Cargile. They've done a great job of going through the league, coming through their teams, knowing what's available, what's not, what's on rosters, what's going to probably be on practice squads, what are our opportunities. So if there's something out there that makes sense, we'll look into it. If there's not, then we won't.
How did the emergency quarterback rule being vetoed alter how you're thinking on how you constructed the roster?
Yeah, I think that whole story is basically a non-story. I mean, we knew this in March. I mean, it's no different than last year. You either have 2 players on the roster, 1 player on the practice squad, or you carry 3 quarterbacks on a roster, and then you have the ability to make a guy an emergency quarterback. So honestly, it's a non-story. It didn't affect us. I mean, maybe some other teams, but this isn't like any news to us. So,
as far as that goes, Case obviously isn't going to play. What do you envision his role being this year? And could you see him being a coach in the future?
It's a good question, Landry. Probably got to ask him about the coach part, but Case has been a good player for this organization for a long time. I mean, his leadership, his toughness, his intelligence. So it's unfortunate that he's not going to be able to play football this year. So, I mean, hopefully he's around the team and around the building. He can be an asset to the team, to that room. So have a lot of respect and appreciation for Case, what he's done, not only over the last year or so, year and change, but over the course of his career. I mean, you're talking about a guy that wasn't drafted, that's basically made it, 12, 13 years, whatever it's been. So it's a credit to him. So it's unfortunate, difficult situation. I'm sure there's a lot of emotion involved relative. I don't want to speak for him, but as far as what he does moving forward, ultimately that's going to be his choice. But I think whatever he decides to do, he's going to be really good at it.
British Brooks, what did you see from him in North Carolina? What did he show you out on the field this year in the preseason?
Yeah, consistent, dependable, tough, good size, good playing strength, smart, can handle multiple roles offensively and in a kicking game. So, I mean, British just shows up, doesn't say much, and does his job, which, I mean, the more people like that we have around here, the better for everybody. So, he's earned his opportunity. He's earned his way onto the team. We'll see if he's able to stay on the team. But, I mean, he's here for a reason. It's credit to him, it's credit to DB, and the work that everybody has put in with him.
As you watched what happened on kickoffs throughout preseason and camp and everything, how did that, if at all, impact the roster?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, I think everybody probably played it pretty close to the vest. I mean, I think, honestly, there was a big outbreak of long returns, it seems like, this last week up to that point. I mean, there was a few returns that popped. So the rules are the rules. I mean, it doesn't sound like anything's going to change drastically. I mean, I think the private equity discussion was a bigger discussion than the kickoff return discussion yesterday. So, but there'll probably be a little bit more strategy that goes into how do you want to handle the return element? How do you set up the return? Who do you put back there? I would say what you're going to see different body types respective to different teams. So, like as an example, wouldn't be surprised if Indianapolis, uses the defensive tackle from Northwestern on kickoff coverage, right? He's an athletic guy, he's big, big ass guy, 285, 90 pounds, that runs good, is athletic, could potentially create some problems. So, all right, how do you compensate for that? How do you prepare for that? Like, we may not have an equivalent player. You might have to do something else. So I'm just using that as one example. Whether or not Indianapolis does that, I mean, they can make their own decisions, but I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happens. So we'll look at it. We spent a lot of time in the spring and in training camp. We've talked in a building about some different things. So, we'll go out there. We understand what the rules and parameters are. So we'll try to put together a good plan each week and try to take advantage of our opportunities.
There was a lot of banter that went on about John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson. And, a lot of it was social media, a lot of radio fluff. What did you see from those two in training camp?
Yeah, Sarge, you could tell me what that says. I don't really pay attention to any of that. So I think what you saw with both players was improvement, was they were available, they were on the field, and they continued to get better, and they took advantage of their opportunities. So I think Hutch was probably one of our most consistent, most dependable players from the beginning of training camp until the end. Say Mechie took advantage of his opportunities there at different points. So, I mean, it's all you're looking for. Training camp is about putting a foundation in place, kind of the earlier question, what are we trying to accomplish? Put the foundation in place. look for individual improvement, look for collective improvement, and I'd say those two players are good examples of that. Now, I mean, the hard work starts. So, I mean, there's a lot that went into it to get to this point, but I mean, now the hard work starts, and we'll see what are our options game day. What's the role? How can we use them? It's not just about offense and defense; it's about the kicking game as well. So, that goes into a lot of discussions that we have, not only daily and weekly, but D'Amico has with Frank and Bobby and Matt on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, those two players are great kids. They work really hard. They care a lot about football, and they've went out there and they've improved. So we'll see where that goes from here.
With a player like Noah Brown, did availability just finally catch up to him?
Yeah, I mean, Noah's a good football player. I mean, Noah's going to be on a team. There's no question about it. He helped us win, honestly, probably 2 games last year by himself. So, I mean, good football player. We understood going into this, as we constructed the team, Cody, that, weren't going to be able to keep everybody, right? So, got to make some hard decisions. I'd say that was a difficult decision. So, we kept the players that we felt right now that could help us the most. I mean, I'd say Noah, certainly part of that discussion. In the end, we just made the decision to move on, but I have a lot of respect for Noah. He's probably one of the toughest players that we had on this football team. Took advantage of opportunities last year, and again, he won us 2 football games literally by himself. The Cincinnati game, the Tampa Bay game. I don't know, he had 1,000 yards receiving in 2 games, whatever it was. But good football player. He's going to be on a team fairly soon and probably going to help a team win. So those are the players that you wish them well. Just can't keep everybody, but certainly wish him well, and have a lot of respect for Noah.
Stroud. He's got a lot thrown at him this offseason. Bears have to take some attention. How do you think he's handled that so far?
Yeah, I think in the end, you just got to keep the focus on football. I think he's been able to do that. So, now, the offseason's over, basically. So, with the regular season's here, now it's what are you doing on a day-to-day basis to get ready for the next opponent, which in this case, Indianapolis, which, again, going back to an earlier discussion, this would be one of the best fronts we face all year. So, really good front. 2 of the best linebackers, arguably in the league. I'd say speed's probably underrated. Nobody talks about speed. Everybody talks about Zaire. Rightfully so, because he had 150 tackles last year. So we got a big challenge in front of us with Indianapolis. So I think the focus now is on football. Whatever happened in the offseason. Look, players deal with a lot of stuff during the offseason. And, I'd say CJ's handled himself very well. He's very mature. He's very professional. But in the end, the focus is on football, because in the end, a lot of that stuff that comes along with being a good player, the opportunities that you get, are a result of what you do on a football field. So in the end, the focus always goes back to football, and I think that's where his focus is and where the rest of our team's focus is.
James didn't have a ton of production in the preseason. What did you see from him that allowed him to make the roster, and how much did special teams play a role?
Yeah, we'll look at everything. It's practice, it's games. Some guys get more opportunities in games than others. Some guys get, opportunities in practice. I would say the joint practices, the teams use that sometimes as almost another, I would say, scrimmage or game, if you will. So Damien's been available. He's been out there. He's been productive with his opportunities in practice. Limited opportunities in the game, but we're glad he's on the team, so we'll see what his role is moving forward. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think or what D'Amico thinks. It's what the player does with the opportunities, and then the players are going to determine how big of a role they do or do not have on a week-to-week basis.
You said before the season started, you said before training camp started, that it was going to be hard to make this team. But when you look at players like Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock, when you're out here observing, what did you see?
Yeah, 2 young football players that we think can help us win. So, I think they've been very consistent going back to the spring. I'd say I know a lot of people might be surprised about Kamari Lassiter. The least surprised people are the people in our building. Starting with myself and D'Amico. So, this guy's a good football player. Go back and watch any film you want to watch at Georgia. Played against the best people, very consistent, same things that we've seen. So, we're glad he's here. I'd say CB's done a good job. CB's got playmaking ability. He can take the ball away. Even a play he made against, was it Pittsburgh or whatever it was, middle of the field, it wasn't an interception, but not too many players can get to that ball. So they're 2 good young players. They're 2 really good kids that care a lot about football. So, we'll see. Hopefully they can help us win some games, and if they can't, then, we'll find somebody else.
When it comes to making some cuts versus availability, even though they might have some guaranteed money, or just, if they're not available, just letting them go. What's kind of that balance of looking at the roster and the contract construction versus the actual production on the field?
I'd say the contract is probably the least of our concerns. The contract's a contract, so we're not making decisions based on somebody's contract. We're making a decision based on the information that we have, what we see on the field, and what we think is best for the team. So, I mean, the contracts, I would say the amount of time we spent on that, I mean, that's more of a March discussion. So what goes on at training camp, I would say it's de minimis.
With Cam Akers, remarkable comeback. He's torn his Achilles twice before. Comes in here, doesn't look like that's ever happened before. What did you see from him in terms of resiliency from that and plays he made?
Yeah, it says a lot about Cam. I mean, player we brought in, I don't know, it was right before training camp or during training camp, and he went out there and kind of took advantage of his opportunities. So obviously it says that he's put in a lot of work to get to this point. I'd say it just gives you like an appreciation, I'd say, for the level of like athlete that you're dealing with. I mean, a normal human being, I mean, to come back from something like that, I mean, that list is pretty short. So say Cam's done a good job. He's been out there. He's been available. He's took advantage of his opportunities. We'll see what that looks like here moving forward.
Was there any difference between year 1 and year 2 of D'Amico when going through these roster cuts?
The great thing about him, he's the same guy every day. Like, pick a day of the week, pick a year. I mean, again, I've said this multiple times. Like, I can't say enough about him, our relationship, the ability to communicate with each other on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure he gets sick of me because, we communicate a lot, but it's all through the vein of we just want to make sure we're making the right decision for the Houston Texans, not what's best for the player, what's best for me, what's best for D'Amico, in the end, what's best for the collective whole. And that's how we approach it. I mean, we literally talk every day. We talked this morning. Hey, what are your thoughts? Anybody on the wire piques your interest? All right, great. Well, here's this group of players that we're looking at. Hey, take a look at it. What do you think? It's very communicative. It's very fluid. There's a lot of information that goes back and forth. And that's how it should be. So my job is to support him as much as possible. And we're just trying to put the best, best team together for the entire group and for the whole. But, I mean, I love the guy. I mean, I love working with him, love everything he's about. And again, it's not like year 1 to year 2, this like big change. Honestly, he's probably been the same guy since he was here when he was drafted by the Texans, however many years ago. So that's what you love about him. I think that's what players appreciate about, I would say, specifically him or any coach. You're just looking for some level of consistency on a day-to-day basis, and he has that in spades.
The process of adding guys after rosters are filled out, how intense is that? Because after you draft, it kind of seems like there's like a breath of fresh air. We're done with the process. Maybe you get to relax a little bit. What's it like when the 53s come out immediately after compared to the draft? Get some water.
Yeah, let's get medical. too far ahead in this league. It's just too difficult. It's too hard. The margins are too small. So, it's all about the next opportunity, which for us is get ready for the Colts, which, like I said earlier, is going to be a significant challenge.
All good?
Thank you. All right. Thanks.
How stable is the roster right now as opposed to coming Monday? Any chance we got a head chance?
I did initially.
Yeah,
there could be some. I think the biggest